Hi, Brad from Brad's AC Performance. Today we're working on power steering conversions for Ski-Doo Gen 4, Gen 5. After watching this video, check my YouTube store to see if I have an updated video. And where this item can be purchased, there'll be the latest videos. So let's get started. I've got a 900 Ace here, which is a non-turbo 900. They also make a 600 in the same style motor, and it's the same installation in the same kit. Now, one of the things you're going to have to do to get started is, like I've got the hood off, you're going to have to take the handlebar riser off at the handlebars, and you want to take and completely remove these clamps and lay this to the side. I put a towel over the side of the machine to protect the plastic from getting scratched, and that exposes the steering post. You'll remove this piece of plastic underneath the gas cap. You'll have to take this door off and unplug these. And then what we're going to do is, on every one of the applications, the motor that drives the power steering has to interrupt the steering shaft. So on this particular one, it's going to interrupt the steering shaft down here at the bottom. So we have to take a Sawzall and cut this apart. So the easiest thing to do, instead of taking the valve cover off and all the electronics off to get the steering post out, is to cut it while it's in the sled, which I've already done. You can see I cut this off right here. I've got it unbolted. And you can see how I cut that. If you start out with a 4.5-inch metal cutting blade on a Sawzall and lay into the side of the weld and let it get started and keep it flat, you can cut it off like this. So once you've done that, you can then snake the steering post out. Now there's two options on the steering post. You can do your own cutting, welding, fabricating, or for an additional fee, I will do an exchange with you where you send me your steering post, cut of course, and I'll send you mine all ready to go and be installed. So some guys like to do their own welding and manufacturing, and some guys want it made for them. So here's my modified steering shaft. I've welded it. I've put a connector in. It'll go to the motor down here. This has got 36 spline. So we also have this collar ring here with the 2 Allen screws. After everything's put together, this is the last thing you do, is you put this up here so that the handlebars are locked in. And if anything comes loose, it prevents the handlebars from coming out and disconnecting the steering. So that's an added feature that I'm including in with the kit. In the kit, you're going to get the electronic control module, mount, the adjust box to adjust the effort in the steering, a motor lock that keeps the motor from moving and improves the steering, a bag of hardware. And then if you decide to do your own steering post, you'll get these parts that need to be welded in. So we need to drill a 5/16 hole right here in the chassis. It's up about 1.25 inches from this mark that's casted in, and right underneath that bar. So you're going to push that bolt up through the hole you just drilled. Put this piece of aluminum on here. Now, because I've used this to test fit, okay, so when you get it in there, it'll be sticking out straight. You're going to bend it down, and you'll bend it to marry it to the motor. Now let's put the motor in. So with that in place, you're going to put your hose clamp on, or motor clamp in this case. And then once that's together, we're on the motor over here. Might be easier if I put the steering post on. Now with the steering post in place, everything lines up a little better. This clamp comes up here. Make sure that aluminum is laying flat against it. Now you're going to install your ECU on the bracket that I provide, and bolts provided in the kit. You'll take the upper bumper bolt out, and this will line right up to there, and then this comes against the bumper here, and there's a stainless steel number 12 5/16 hex nut, self-tapping screw that you just run through there to hold it in place. Now there's a couple other things I want you to be aware of is where this coupler and the electric motor come together. On each end of the shaft there's a rounded mark there, and that's so that when it goes into the coupler, you want that groove to line up with this coupler, and you run an Allen screw in there. Make sure you green or blue Loctite everything together. Anything that has to be bolted together gets blue Loctite. These Allen screws, when you run them down, you run it down and wiggle it back and forth and get the play out of it and find that locking spot and lock it down good. That's critically important. It's also really important after 100 miles of use that you pull the hood, check these Allens, check these connections, and make sure everything's tight. So that gets towards the end of what we're doing here. The reason I didn't fully put this all together and do a complete assembly is this is a sled that's been lent to me, and they don't want the power steering unit on it. So I'm not going to completely install it and then have to take it apart. I haven't completely worked out where the wiring's going. We've got a good idea, and I'll show you in my 850 video. I'm going to take a minute now. This is the end of the video if you're going to do an exchange on a steering post. If you're going to modify a steering post, continue watching. So what I've done for the steering post modification is I've drawn a map so you know where to cut it and to what length. And then I have photographs that show you everything you need to know. And they'll be included in the kit with the instructions. Are the rest of the parts for assembly. And it comes with a piece of this specially made metric tube. It's about 2.5 inches long. You're going to end up cutting the post like I did this one, and see I put a tape on it so that you can find the straight spot. And then this is how much you're going to end up cutting out. So you'll be cutting it back to here, and then you put a little piece of this in here, and it'll marry the two together. Kind of give you an idea. It would be like that. And then it also allows you to drill a hole and 1/4 to 20 tap it to put redundancy bolts in. So one of the things we need to do is get the timing alignment on this steering post. And if you'll notice, I've got the T handle right at level there. If you look, if you were here in the shop and you're looking at it, you can see it's level there. And then we move this to where it's straight up and down. And then I stand back and look at it and try and get it to be straight up and down. The most you can be off is 4 degrees, and you can adjust that out with the tie rods. So you need to get this as close as you can. Once you get this like this, you want to take and remove this carefully. This has just enough friction to hold it in place, and take and weld that. Disassemble this side, weld that, and you're ready to go. Thanks for watching. I'm Brad from Brad's AC Performance.